Yes, people, so today I'm going to go over how I went from this to this in just 18 months, losing 30 kilos of body fat. No hacks, no shortcuts, just hard work and consistency for 18 months. So when I was a kid at 15, I was very sporty, athletic, lean, but I was skinny. I didn't have any muscle. Stepped into the gym at 15 and went from 60 kilos all the way up to 110 over a 7-year period. I was lifting weights consistently during this time, 3 to 5 times every single week, sometimes even lifting every day, right? I was in a big calorie surplus, as you can tell. Gained 50 kilos, almost like 7-8 kilos a year. So consistently eating 5 meals every single day. But I was eating to the point where I was feeling full every day. I was eating clean foods, but a lot of foods. Bloated, not happy with how I was looking at the end at 110 kilos. And this is where the moment of realization set in. I was a PT. I was training people. People were getting in phenomenal shape, shredded. And then there was me walking around at 110 kilos. Yes, I was really strong. I had a good amount of muscle, but to put it frank, I was fat. And I thought, right, if I want to be the best online coach in the world, if I want to help people change their lives, I need to lead by example and get into shape. So that is exactly what I did. I realized it was time to change. So the evolution of this transformation put down to 2 key things: training and nutrition. So when I first started training at 15, I was doing the classic bro split. Arm day every day, training every single day, arm day, back day, chest day, leg day, if we were lucky, no rest. And then I slowly realized, right, that wasn't working very well. And people ahead of me in the game told me, look, move to push-pull legs. So then I started training push-pull legs, training every muscle group twice a week. Now, I've even gone to upper lower. For me, it's all about frequency. I want to hit every muscle group as frequently as possible. That's why a lot of the guys you see on my page, they're doing full body splits because they can only commit to training 2-3 times a week. So that's why I get them doing full body, so they were hitting every muscle group 2 or 3 times a week. So when I was younger, I would just go into the gym and I would freestyle it. I'd have, right, I'm going to do arms or I'm going to do chest, and I'd go from an incline dumbbell press to a flat Smith press to a overhead barbell standing press, randomly doing workouts, no structure or guidance to my sessions. I wasn't enforcing any sort of progressive overload because I wasn't logging any of my workouts. So I wasn't getting stronger each week. I was, again, freestyling it. I didn't know what I was lifting 3 months ago compared to what I was lifting now. One of the biggest changes to my training was when I started actually filming my sets. And what I realized from that is that in my head, I always thought, wow, my training is sweet. I'm lifting good reps, good tempo, good range of motion. And then I realized when I started filming my sets, right, my range of motion wasn't as good, especially on things like my leg presses, my squatting. I'll put some videos up here. I was doing half reps. Same with the tempo. I wasn't controlling the weight, pausing at the bottom of reps, controlling the 3-second eccentric. All these little things I didn't know, and I only realized when I started filming my sets. That's why the number one thing I do with clients straight away is get them filming sets, because the number one way you're going to change your physique with regards to putting on muscle is going to be from your training. So if we can film your sets and sort your training out straight away, that's how we get these crazy recomps. Right? You see these guys that over 3 months go from looking skinny fat to jacked. How do we do that? Right, well, we just sort their training out, put them in a calorie deficit, get them eating high protein and keeping them accountable. And it is sometimes really that simple. So with my nutrition, as I said, I slowly gained like 50 kilos over 6-7 years. So I was in a constant surplus. Eating 5 meals a day, it was clean food, but it was a lot of food. It wasn't a good spot to be in. Don't get me wrong, it put a lot of muscle on my frame, but it got me fat. So like I say here, I got really strong and a lot of the foundations had been laid in place, but it just meant that I had to do a big deficit for the next 2 years. Like I say to my clients, right, you didn't get fat overnight, so you're not going to lose it all and get shredded overnight. It's part of the process in terms of, I admitted, right, it took 5 years to put that 50 kilos on. If I want to get lean now, it's not going to happen overnight. So during this time though, I still ate out. It was just about not eating to the point where I was feeling stuffed, but also sticking within my calories. So making sure during that fat loss phase, I was still over those 18 months in a calorie deficit. And the way I would do that would be banking food. So I would say I was eating at some points, 2,000, 1,800, 1,500 calories at the end of the diet. I would basically remove carbohydrates and fats earlier on in the day and move them to the meal out and the dinner, and just pick smart foods so that at the end of the day I was still either in a calorie deficit or at maintenance. The last thing you want to do is have a big binge out day where you end up eating 3,000-4,000 calories, gaining a kilo or two, which is then just going to take another week or two to get back off and just delays the process. So like I said, the big thing with my diet was finding something that I could stick to consistently. The way I was going to do that was if it was enjoyable but had that sustainability aspect in terms of something that I could stick to day in, day out. So I was eating whole foods that I enjoyed, high protein to keep me satiated, and then it was just a matter of time. It's a matter of how many days can I be in a calorie deficit, string those days together, watch that body fat come off. And it wasn't about some extreme rapid fat loss, losing 2 kilos a week. It was right, if I'm losing anywhere from 0.5 to 1% of my body weight every single week and I'm enjoying the process, eventually I'm going to get shredded. And that's exactly what I did. And that's exactly what I do with my clients. We find a plan that they can consistently stick to, allow them to go and eating out with their friends and family, get them training, and then it's a matter of how many days can we string together till we get the result that we want to achieve. And as long as you're enjoying the process, we know you're always going to get there. So one of arguably the most important things when going through a physique transformation is your mindset. So the mindset shift that I had was that I wanted to lead by example. You wouldn't take financial advice from a broke person. So why would you take fitness advice from an overweight online coach? Same principles apply, right? So for me, it was about changing that mindset. Before, I'd spent years being in a calorie surplus, focusing on building as much muscle as possible. Now my mindset was to get as shredded as possible while keeping that muscle, but that was going to come from being in a calorie deficit and focusing on fat loss. And it was important that I had an end goal. So I was doing a bodybuilding show and a photo shoot. I always say to clients, have that timeline in place, have that end goal, end date, end target, because it adds urgency to the process. It gives us that day-to-day determination to get in shape, to tick the boxes. When it gets hard, and it will get hard at some point, you've got your why. For me, it was right, I had to get in shape because I told all my clients, I told all my mates that I was going to do this bodybuilding show and photo shoot, and I wanted to do it for myself because, again, I wanted to lead by example. I wanted to show people that I was the guy, I could do it. If I can do it, I can help you change your life and do the same. Because I had that social proof already. I'd got loads of other people in shape. I just hadn't really got in shape myself. Now, if we look at my physique and we break it down, that transformation, from my highest, I was 110, and I went all the way down to my lowest was 71 kilos. So that's almost 40 kilos. During that time, I kept a lot of my muscle. Now, I did that by losing at a steady rate. I didn't lose 40 kilos in 40 weeks, right? So I did it slowly. I focused on maintaining training performance. I hired a coach, so it removed that stress. So for me, one of the biggest things I find with me and my clients is removing stress. I had total clarity on everything that I needed to do. He told me the steps every day, the diet, the training, and I followed it to a T. I was a robot, right? And when I did eat out, we put plans in place so that I could still make progress. So all the pressure in a way was on him to make sure that I got in shape. So that's one of the biggest things. And he already had that social proof. So I had that faith and trust in him. That's one of the biggest things. So the only thing that I would do different looking back is I hired a coach halfway through that process. So in hindsight, I would have hired him earlier on because he just made my life so much easier. So that's one of the biggest things. It's making your life easier when you're dieting. You want the process to be as easy as possible, get to that end goal as quickly as possible, and have that bit of clarity in terms of, I knew that, right, he'd got people into shape before. If I followed his principles, his protocols, he'd get that result, right? And that's why I think having social proof is so important when working with coaches. So that's just a little overview of sort of the things I was doing to achieve this physique transformation. If you want more detail, if you want to know the calories, the macros, the training plan, the exercises that I was doing, how much I was losing exactly each week, the exact timeline, drop me a comment below and I'll do a longer video explaining exactly how I did it, every change I made to my food, every change I made to training. So if you look something like I did when I started this physique transformation, or if you look like one of my clients did when they started some of these transformations that I'm going to pop on the screen, don't hesitate to reach out. If you want to change your life, we can do it. If these guys can do it, you can do it. All you need to do is fill out the type form in my bio, drop me a message on Instagram, drop me a comment, and I'll reach out to you and we can get started. And before you know it, in 6 months' time, I might be doing a YouTube video on you and how you got shredded with myself.